All right, guys, so our next assignment, first time I've done this for sure. Our next area is pattern and rhythm. These are principles of design. They're kind of like how you can use the elements of art, ways you can use the elements of art. So one of the things you can do with elements is you can make a pattern. It's a repetition of elements for the purpose of surface decoration. And if you need to get that in your sketchbook, which I'd like you to get that in your sketchbook, pause it, get that in your sketchbook, and then you can start the video back up. So patterns everywhere. You're going to find it man-made, like on a dress or on cloth or on like a plate. It's also functional, like on windows. You repeat windows over and over again. We don't do that just for the pattern because we actually need to be able to get light into our rooms, but it creates a pattern on the side of the building. And then you can also find patterns in nature, like on animals, they'll have patterns for functional survival or for reproduction, like the peacock to get attention. So the motif, pause it, get this in your sketchbook. You actually only need number 2, though. You don't need the entire thing there. Number 1 is talking about a motif in music or literary context, which is a recurring subject, a recurring theme. In art, it's the thing that's getting repeated in a pattern. It's the part of the pattern that repeats. So distinctive and recurring form, shape, or figure. So number 2 is the definition you guys need for motif, for art. It's the thing that gets repeated, like a circle or a square or a rectangle. It's the part, all these things that get repeated over and over again. And there's different types of pattern. Regular rhythms, we'll go look at each one of these really quick. You need to get these into your sketchbook so you can pause it and get these in there. And we'll look at examples here in a minute. Regular is the same thing every time, no changes. Random, there's no actual order to where the pattern is, how the pattern is repeated. It has a randomness to it. Alternating means that it flips or changes in the same way every time. So for an alternating rhythm, if you had an arrow, the arrow would point up, and then it would point down, and then it would point up, and then it would point down. So it alternates back and forth. A progressive rhythm changes a little bit every time. So a progressive rhythm slowly changes, like an arrow starts up, and then the next one, it's to the right, and then the next one, it's down, and then the next one, it's left. Next one, it's back up again. And then you have flowing rhythm, which is where the rhythm is created by a lot of wavy lines, and there's not a lot of order to it, but they're all kind of the same sort of waviness. There's a lot of connection to music here because rhythm is really important to music. So if you've thought a lot, you can kind of connect these things to music. Different types of rhythms have different beats, and you can kind of have the same sort of musical rhythms that you have in art. So looking at a couple examples really quick, you have alternating example on the left. It alternates between a red block and this white square, red block, white square, and then the bottom one, white square, red block. It flips. One side, the red block is on the right of the white, the other side's on the left of the white square. Kind of flips back and forth. The pattern on the right is the same every time, so it's a regular rhythm. Regular rhythms like these, I'm pretty sure that these are pretty expensive. These top 2 are kind of designer patterns. I can't think of the brand, but I'm sure you might know. What is it? You know it?
That one is, that's actually a symbol for a football game.
Oh, yeah, Saints, yeah. And I think, isn't like Gucci or one of them uses that?
Yes, you can use that.
Or I know, it's some famous designer, I'm not sure. But so these patterns, they get associated sometimes like, this is the floor, I think it's called the fleur de lis. And it's a French symbol connected. So yeah, used by, oh yeah, okay. So used in the New Orleans Saints. So these are regular patterns. They repeat the same every time. There's not really a change. It's the exact same pattern. I just repeated in the same colors, in the same place. Another example of regular pattern. Patterns can be pictures, the same picture repeated over and over again. It doesn't just have to be like simple shapes. It can be more complex as long as it repeats every time. Alternating pattern here with the girl at the typewriter. Every time she flips over, up, down, and then we have a wavy pattern. It's actually, it looks like a flowing pattern, but it's not. It's an alternating pattern. It's these wavy lines flowing back and forth over each other, but it's not a flowing pattern. It's alternating because it's the same. Camo, random pattern. The camouflage, it's the same basic shapes, but each one's a little bit different, and they're all in just random places. So it's a random pattern, changes a little bit over time. You can also make a good argument that it's a progressive pattern too, because it does slowly change. This painting features eyes. Every eye is a little bit different. Every eye it's kind of randomly sized and randomly placed. Sometimes there's more or less space between them. So it's a good example of a random pattern. So you guys are going to be creating a motif in your sketchbook. You need a 2 by 3 inch block to create your motif. And here's our directions. So you can pause this and read it and get your directions. You have some example shapes down there: circle, oval, rectangle, parallel lines, curvy lines. And you're creating a motif. Now, if you're doing this at home, you're just going to be creating your motif. You're not going to be able to really carve this. But then you're going to take one of your motifs. I want you to create 3 different ones. And I want you to pick your favorite one, and we'll create a rhythm out of it. So for now, you just need your 3 motifs, and then put a picture of them in the assignment on Classroom. For you guys in class, we'll make one of these, and we'll carve it in linoleum to make a printing plate to print, like those guys right there. All right, 3 motifs, 3 pattern ideas drawn out. You only need one, just the motif. You don't have to create the whole pattern. Thanks.